Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you guys are doing well. I'm doing fantastic. Hope my voice doesn't sound weird. I've got a touch of the COVID. Yeah, sure do. Took a little test, came back positive, so that's nice. Real good. I might try to shoot a video where I try to tell what fragrances are while I'm blindfolded because I can still smell, but only like 25%. So I'm kind of curious to see like what comes through that I can pick up and what doesn't. But that's not what we're talking about right here today. Right now, we're talking about some new fragrance releases. So we've got some potentially good stuff popping up here. We got a new Angel Share flanker. That's pretty sick. A new Mancera, a couple new Givenchy fragrances, and a new D Squared. Because of course, everybody, massive D Squared fragrance fans. It looks like they're trying to switch things up, going away from the wood that they usually do, like all their fragrances named around wood, but not this one, no sir. I've linked in the description where you can find some more information on the fragrances that I talked to you about here today. That's gonna be on iFragrance Official's website. So again, that's gonna be linked in the description. And also in the description, you will find other links, like one to my mailing list. It's free to sign up. I won't spam you. I'll just hit you up if anything catches my eye. Talking about new fragrance releases, the occasional little bit of a review, also some sales, you know, stuff like that. And then there are a lot of links and codes in the description as well. New code for JOMASHOP, new codes rather. Those only work on the JOMASHOP app and they only work through mid-September. Keep that in mind. They'll switch around that time to something different. And then there are new codes for Max Aroma as well. The old ones don't work anymore. Gotta use the new ones. And of course, you know the other codes, fragflex.com, the perfume box. Got some sweet codes there to save some money at some discounters. So across all those different websites, you can find a lot of fragrances and save a lot of money using those. Let's start talking fragrances. I know my voice sounds weird, I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm just, I'm not feeling 100%. Let's talk first about the Mancera fragrance, and this one is called Cherry Cherry, because you know, they just got creative minds that are out of control there when it comes to naming. Can't wait for their next fragrance. Wood Wood, Vanilla Vanilla, Oud Oud. Fantastic. But we all know Mancera, right? We know the deal, we know the drill. When it comes to Mancera, they're not too expensive at full retail, about 180 bucks for 120 milliliters in the US. When they hit discounters, even less than that. Typically pretty wearable, easygoing niche fragrances with a bunch of power. Maybe easygoing wasn't the best descriptor there since I immediately talked about how overly strong they are, but whatever. Most of their fragrances that are really popular are decently easygoing. Let's see what's going on with Cherry Cherry. Indulge your senses with Mancera's Cherry Cherry, a deliciously addictive, fruity fragrance. It begins with the juicy, sweet black cherry note mixed with the strong, zesty duo of bergamot and lemon that gets swiftly replaced by a powerful floral bouquet of lavish orris, heady jasmine, dry patchouli leaves, along with the irresistibly sweet heliotrope. The whole blend nestles on a bedding of warm vanilla pods with clean white musk for a signature-worthy scent trail. The new fragrance is encased in the signature cylindrical see-through glass flacon of Mancera, albeit in a rich shade of red to reflect the hypnotizing aura of the blend. That's a good way to describe the bottle. A signature cylindrical see-through glass flacon, or just, you know, a bottle. So this one has notes of black cherry, bergamot, lemon, orris, jasmine, patchouli, heliotrope, and white musks, and vanilla. I lean two ways here. First way is, sounds like it could be really good, sounds like it could be a bit of a Mancera hype beast. People love cherry notes, assuming they're done well. Citrus, of course, goes with about anything. Throw in a little bit of iris, or excuse me, orris, and then vanilla, could be awesome. The other way I lean is, could be super feminine and powdery, which for my own personal taste would be a bit of a bummer. You know, you see all those notes and you're like, oh, this could be really good. I'd assume unisex, you know, it's probably what it's gonna be. I can't imagine with this note breakdown it leans masculine, but still, unisex with those notes, with Mancera performance, with that price, that could be good. The issue would be, like I said, you get it in, spray it on, and then it's just like sickeningly syrupy sweet and also powdery feminine leaning, and then you go, oh, no thank you. By the way, sorry I just did that fake cough and infected all of you. Next up, let's talk about the Givenchy fragrances, then we'll talk Angel Share. They are dropping two fragrances, Pour Homme 2024 and Pour Homme Blue 2024. Technically Pour Homme Blue Label 2024. But we'll just call it blue to keep it a little simpler. And this continues along with the trend that we have seen increase over the years, over the last few years, which is fragrance brands releasing something with the same name as an existing fragrance with a changed bottle and then slapping a year on the end. The first one that probably in a really big way made waves was Dior Homme 2020, but Dior had done multiple fragrances in the past, like Dior Homme Sport and Dior Homme, where they had differences, and they would slap a different year on the end of it. So if there were like little changes, reformulations done, whatever, they would slap the year that happened in on the end of the fragrance, and then that would designate like, okay, here's the new one. The reason Dior Homme 2020 made bigger waves is of course because they totally, completely changed what Dior Homme was. But then we had that with Dior Homme Sport as well, and Armani has just been going nuts with all the different fragrances, the changes, and the Acqua di Gio line, the Code line, and now we've got this one too. So it's becoming really common, and I guess it's starting to be expected at this point. Now, a lot of you out there are probably not going to be familiar with Givenchy Pour Homme or Pour Homme Blue Label. Those came out in the early 2000s, and they had a pretty distinct bottle style. You could tell like right away what they were. Bottles looked like this right here. And while those fragrances aren't huge sellers anymore, apparently, Givenchy wants to do a little something for them, and it says that these are collector edition fragrances of the iconic releases with some twists on the fragrance notes. So let's delve into it first. Givenchy Pour Homme 2024. Givenchy for Men, a fresh, woody eau de toilette where notes of spicy cardamom and syrupy Davana meet the depth of refined cedar wood. A fragrance that captures the classic modernity of the Givenchy man. And these new bottle styles, the 2024 iterations, those are gonna look basically like your gentleman fragrance bottles in terms of shape and style and everything. Rediscover the timeless Givenchy Pour Homme fragrance, now available in reinvented packaging, so the new bottle style. Faithful to its original DNA, the fragrance is revealed in the elegant and iconic Givenchy bottle, embodying the sophisticated seduction of a powerful spirit. And this is where I feel like you get a little confused. It's just a couple of sentences really that they've thrown out to us here, but it's like, don't know exactly what to expect. From my point of view, maybe this is wrong, but from my point of view, I don't feel like it makes a ton of sense to take a fragrance from, I think it was 2002 that the original was released in, 22 years later, drop it into a new bottle and say, hey look, a limited edition, you should buy this. Mainly because I can't imagine too many people, going shopping and smelling this one and thinking, oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And this is not a shot at the original fragrance. It's a good fragrance, but what I'm saying is that what most people are gonna be looking for? Probably not. And so then when you read and you see, oh, some twists on the fragrance notes, that makes sense. Because then maybe you take the original, right, and you modernize it a little bit. You can still keep that original feeling, but give it some aspects that are gonna make it appeal to more people nowadays. Then in the write-up it says, faithful to its original DNA, the fragrance is revealed in the elegant blah, 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 blah. Some people are gonna read that and interpret that as faithful to the original DNA, so you mean it smells exactly like the original? And I would expect the answer is no, that it has aspects but has been overhauled. And I think when you look at the note breakdown, that is what they're doing. At least again, that would be my expectation. Because I'm gonna read you really quickly the note breakdown according to Fragrantica.com for the original, okay? So here we go. Mandarin orange, grapefruit, coriander, violet, vetiver, lavender, cedar, labdanum. Not a crazy note breakdown, not hyper complex or anything like that, especially compared to a lot of fragrances that were coming out around that time frame, but here's the note breakdown for the new one. Cardamom, Davana, cedarwood. That's it. Yep, it's one of those derpy 3-note note breakdowns. What are you gonna do? But when you compare those 2 note breakdowns side by side, the only thing they have in common is the cedar. No cardamom in the original, no Divana in the original. Obviously missing the citrus off the top, missing the vetiver in the mid there. So we have a new Homme 2024 coming out. Again, limited edition. And I would imagine if it does really well, maybe it sticks around for a little bit. And if this new modernized version of the fragrance doesn't work out, they just say, oh, it's a limited edition, so it's no big deal. But as with most limited edition fragrances, if you really want it, or if you really like it, make sure to scoop it up. Because if it ends up truly being limited, it's not gonna be around that long. Now let's talk about the blue label, which this one is same deal as the other collector's edition with some twists on the notes. We'll do the quick write-up here. Homme Blue Label is a fresh woody eau de toilette where Sichuan pepper blends with the invigorating touch of Divana and the warm richness of olibanum incense. An irresistible fragrance for the man who embraces freedom with effortless elegance. And then the last part of the write-up is the same thing as with the other fragrance. Rediscover the fragrance in the new reinvented packaging, faithful to the original DNA, all that. So again, no breakdown, super simple. Sichuan pepper, Divana, and incense. Divana, the only thing similar between the Homme 2024 and Blue Label 2024. Well, let's do the same thing. Let's rock and roll right back to Blue Label as it originally was, again, according to Fragrantica, and again, early 2000s. Grapefruit, bergamot off the top, so it keeps that citrusy opening. Obviously, with this being Blue Label, it's a little bit of a fresher fragrance overall. Mid notes in that one, pepper, lavender, cardamom, artemisia, base, cedar, vetiver, olibanum. So you do see carryover between the two. The vetiver, the cedar, the lavender, the citrus. Now, it's not the exact same citrus note breakdown. It's grapefruit and bergamot in Blue Label, mandarin orange and grapefruit in the original Homme. But still, you can see some of the overlap there, some of the changes there as well. And then in the new 2024 iteration, they have changed things up yet again. And that note breakdown, I gotta say, doesn't hit me as like the freshest note breakdown, at least not what I would expect something that has the Blue Label name on it to have. Divana, incense, and then Sichuan pepper, you know? A little bit of sweetness, smokiness, some warm notes as well. Sichuan pepper can be very bright, but still, that's not a whole heck of a lot to go on, just those 3 notes. But I wanted to let you guys know that those 2 fragrances are on the way, and they are both right now being labeled as limited collector's editions. So I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. Again, I would imagine if, you know, somehow these come out and they smell fantastic, maybe it kicks off the Homme line and they go ahead and start using that line as another fragrance line for, you know, Givenchy men's fragrances to come out with, which I wouldn't argue with because I love the gentleman line. So if you've got another line of fragrances that's also good, like I'll take that too. But we'll just have to see how that unfolds. All right, let's talk about the new Angel Share from by Kilian. It's called Angel Share Paradis. And this one makes total sense. If you're gonna do a flanker of any of the Liquors fragrances from by Kilian, it's gotta be Angel Share, right? I mean, massive release, huge release. It's one of the biggest niche fragrances to come out over the past number of years easily. And all you have to do is look at how many different clone fragrances or alternative fragrances to Angel Share are on the market right now. That lets you know how much it's in demand. And so, yeah, it makes sense to come out with the flanker, and everybody's gonna be really anticipating this one, I would imagine. Gotta say, love the look of the bottle. I think it looks really good. Angel Share in general looks good already, just talking about the bottle itself. The cap, you know, it's a little take it or leave it. It's not the best part of the presentation, but you got this new one now with this wooden cap, which to me elevates the look a little bit. It gives it a darker look, a richer look to the fragrance, and overall just looks slightly better. Not a ton about the fragrance just yet, but we'll read what's out there right now. Give in to the allure of Angel Share Paradis, the first flanker of the iconic signature of by Kilian. The boozy touch of the refined blend is now accentuated with luscious notes of bright raspberry, the boozy blast of aged cognac in oak barrels, which heightens the senses, while the opulence of woods add elegance to the composition. This time it comes enclosed in the luxurious studded flacon of the original creation, albeit in a sturdy, woody top, which reflects the boozy nature of the composition. As if the original did not reflect booze? I don't know. So I'll read you the note breakdown of the original. It also had cognac, it also had oak, cinnamon tonka, Kilian, vanilla, praline, sandalwood, candied almond. So when you do that comparison between the original and now the new one, at least the few notes that have been given, there's gonna be more that come out note-wise, but just the ones we have right now. The cognac, aged in oak barrels, that was already there. The woody notes, I mean, the original one had woods as well, oak, like I said, sandalwood as well. So one of the main things you're gonna really concentrate on is that raspberry. Obviously that's gonna be in the opening. It's gonna help give it a different fruity touch when you spray the fragrance on. Most popular fragrance with raspberry off the top, especially if we're talking about a more niche style of fragrance, probably gonna be Tuscan Leather from Tom Ford. So I'm wondering if it's gonna be more in that style or something a little bit different just as far as how that raspberry hits. But with the added focus on woods, I would also imagine that this is gonna be a fragrance that maybe doesn't lean quite as sweet as the original as it dries down. Now I would imagine still a good amount of sweetness off the top. The raspberry, the cognac that's in there, it should still have that boozy warmth all the way throughout. So it should still be a sweet fragrance, but I would think, based off what they put here, that as it dries down, it's gonna be a little more focusing on the woods in the scent profile, as opposed to, you know, the praline, the cognac, the vanilla, the tonka, all that, which could give it more of a masculine lean. Could also make it a little bit of a classier scent profile overall. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's a waft of like smokiness through there from the cognac in the oak barrels, because oak notes in fragrances often will have a little bit of a smoky aspect to them. And if they're leaning more into the woody aspects of this fragrance, that wouldn't surprise me to have a little bit of that come through in the dry down. Overall, this one easily is the one I'm looking forward to most out of the fragrances in today's video. And I was actually going back through and looking at most of the releases for this year, and there have been some good ones, there have been some really good ones, but on the whole, as I looked through everything, I was like, I don't know if this is like the strongest year for releases, you know? At the end of the year, I'll go back and kind of contrast and compare with this year, last year, maybe like a couple years before, and see how it ends up. But it feels very kind of in the middle. So if this one comes out and just absolutely crushes, that would really help boost up everything that's come out this year and make it look a little bit better. All right, last up we have Icon pour Homme by D Squared. And I will say that nowadays, D Squared, you can typically wait, pick them up at discounters and save a pretty good chunk of change. I'm actually gonna double check that and I'll somehow be completely wrong, even though last time I looked, they were really cheap. Like, oh no, everything's $95 plus now. Oops. Let's see. Yeah, pretty cheap. Yeah. Everything's about 30 bucks, 40 bucks, at least in most stores. Some of them are a little bit higher depending on where you're shopping, but yeah, pretty affordable. And as I said, for the most part, D Squared has really focused on fragrances with the wood name. Like they had a lot of fragrances, Rocky Mountain wood, etc., etc. And I have a bunch of those. They came in bottles for the most part that were square and made of wood, which really got that whole wood aspect across, but also they were kind of a pain in the butt to hold because it's just a chunk of wood, so you were like... Then they discontinued everything. They took all their fragrances, just wiped the slate clean, and obviously they were like, yo, these wood and wood fragrances are not cutting it. What should we do? Yes, come out with wood fragrances again, but this time in a different bottle, which is what they've been doing up until now. Let's read about Icon. Icon pour Homme starts with spicy sun-soaked citruses mixed with energizing ginger. This invigorating burst is soon followed by an intriguing contrast that is utterly surprising. Through the heart, a combo of aromatic clary sage, lavender, geranium, and rare black tulip for an extraordinary and bold floral composition. I don't know why I chuckled. It's just, there are only so many times I can read where they're like, it's utterly surprising. It's completely mind-blowing what we've done here. We've pushed the boundaries of fragrances forever, opening up a tear in time. Say goodbye to your family because our experiments in fragrance have destroyed reality. And then you look at the note breakdown, and it's like grapefruit, lavender, musk. Yes, totally surprising. That's wild, man. Yeah. I guess they do have black tulip though, so that's something. Eventually, the tempting warmth of Akigala wood merges gracefully with cedarwood and earthy patchouli, culminating in a strong, elegant base that is full of aromatic delights that deviates from the traditional perfumery norms. All right. So this one has citrus and ginger off the top, totally outside the norms, dude. Perfumery norms, citrus and ginger, that is completely unheard of. Sarcasm. One dude out there like, no, man, that's common. That's common. In the mid, clary sage, lavender, geranium, black tulip, and in the base, Akigala wood, cedar, and patchouli. Now, truthfully, that breakdown doesn't sound bad. That sounds pretty good. Sounds like a really wearable fragrance, probably more spring, summer, fall, based off that note breakdown. More of a daytime fragrance, I'd say, again, based off that note breakdown. I think really with this one, the black tulip is what's going to make it more interesting if it's pulled off. Because if it's done well, then it would have that versatility, that ease of use that you expect from a fragrance that's clary sage, lavender, geranium, citrus, ginger. And in the base, that's just basically a modern woody dry down is what I'm expecting. Akigala wood essentially is what happens if you take, just dumbing it down a little bit, patchouli, and strip away most of that earthy aspect that it can have, leaving it with more of just a woody aspect, more of a clean woody sort of patchouli vibe. And then they also have patchouli in the base. I would imagine that's gonna lean again more toward the clean side of things as opposed to earthy, powerful, funky potentially. I don't think that's gonna be coming this way. So for me, I think everything on this fragrance hinges on the black tulip. No pressure. But that's what's gonna make it or break it most likely, because it's gonna be, you know, how is it used? How does it change things? Does it make it more interesting? Does it make it stand out? Does it add a really cool aspect of flair to the fragrance? Or instead, is it just kind of a nondescript floral aspect that when you smell it, you go, I guess that's the black tulip? Or does it really, you know, make itself known? Because if that's pulled off well, then you could have something that actually is pretty unique. And at that point, it would be really cool, especially considering the price point that D-squared fragrances typically go for after they hit discounters for a couple months. And even if the black tulip is more of an afterthought, more of a marketing type thing, I think that for the price point, again, that this is probably gonna end up going for in the future, which I would guess, you know, $40, $45, something like that. It could be really serviceable still yet, even if that's not a standout. Because as I said, looks like something you could use for most of the year. Looks like it'd be, based off the note breakdown, something that's not too far out of the norm. So it should be just a easy wear with the potential to be something more. Bow. There we go, guys. Some new fragrances coming up. Let me know what you're most excited for. I gotta say, probably 95% of you gonna say the new Angel Share, and that's where I'm at too. Again, I apologize for my voice. It sounds weird to me. Maybe it sounds normal right now, I don't know. But my head feels like a balloon, so yeah, it sounds weird. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later. I'm going to bed.